Josh Scott has done it again. The streams have been crossed. Area 51, Naruto'd. Our boy in Kansas City has said that you don't need a clone. As a matter of fact, Digitech Bad Monkey will do. I'm having trouble today doing anything really. New light looks nice though, doesn't it? And the whole point of the thing is explore your gear. Use what you have. You don't have to get this coveted rare stuff like a Dumble. Nobody can afford a Dumble, except Bonamassa maybe. There's maybe 3 people on Earth. And sometimes we just feel like, well, I would like to have access to that. Have a clone. Mayor it up. But as Josh at JHS points out, it doesn't matter. You can use, his previous videos about modelers. You can use modelers. They've been doing their show with them. You don't have to have a bunch of tube amps. You could use both. I use mostly an AXFX 3, sometimes Neural DSP plugins, sometimes an amp. Look at that little orange. There's even a little tube in it. I don't have many tube amps because the AXFX 3 is my main thing. I don't need it. But I can get whatever sound I want out of that, and it's fine. And I think a lot of times we get caught up on, well, I need this guitar, I need to have all this stuff, I need a clone, I need whatever's popping on reverb, and you don't need it. Nobody needs any of that. While it's nice to have and we can get inspiration from gear, it's important to realize, as Josh is saying, this pedal has existed since about 2004. Any one of us could have bought a Digitech Bad Monkey and went straight into playing with the knobs, but we didn't. And now that his video's out, reverb's popping off and everybody's saying, well, Josh, you've made these pedals expensive. But as he points out, and we're going to look on the computer next, he's been, that pedal predates his company. We've had plenty of time to buy the pedal before it was raised up, but we're missing the point. The point is not go buy a Digitech Bad Monkey. The point is play with the stuff you've got. If you're wanting a clone sound and you have a couple of overdrives, play with them. Go off the beaten path. Use, I don't know, this isn't a path, is it? That's international start the car sign. Try to open the door. But you know what I'm saying. We have access to a lot of gear. You can make what you have sound good. Something that happened to me going through this experience is I've accumulated a lot of gear from some pedals. I have a full board here. Don't worry, there's Strymon and Eventide all over it. A lot of guitars, AXFX, a lot of plugins, a lot of recording stuff. Now it's video, it's endless. But I could be happy with that orange and some pedals. I could make that work. And one guitar. One reason I do like multiple guitars is inspiration and you can be inspired to pick up a different guitar. I play this. This is you can see, it's a D-hole gypsy jazz guitar. But it sounds, I don't know if it's fully in tune, but it has a sound to it. And so I'm interested in that style of music, so I bought that guitar off a friend. 7-string. Oh, I see why the weather's hard. Super Strat. Something I rescued that's kind of rare. It was mostly of different tunings, different inspiration, and that matters too. But let's go look at what he said. And here we are at the desk, at the computer. There's the culprit. Digitech Bad Monkey. Just the pedal. You can see Josh here says To the people complaining that I raised the price on this pedal and now you can't buy one, he reminds us that we've had 19 years and nobody cared. The pedal existed for 4 years longer than his company did. Basically, it can't be his fault, of course. And most people did hate this, and they did. I remember that. But the big point here is learn to listen with your ears and not trends, and you will be a much happier guitarist. And I think this is the truest thing ever said. It just can't be said enough, really. He talks about the prices, and of course, if you don't buy them, it's going to come down. Even stocks work like this. It's efficient markets. If you're not given the ask in bids, it's going to fall back down. So if you don't buy these off Reverb for whatever, 600, I had pointed out the max one of these had went is at $200-300, which is way too much still. But one of the things that made me really like the company, and Josh in particular, but the whole team seems outstanding, is stuff like this. I don't remember when this was posted, but he says if you find a bad pedal, you aren't using it right. 6 knobs is too many knobs. The Klon is awesome, but it's just a pedal. Metal zones are amazing. Boutique doesn't equal better. Cheap isn't a qualifier for crappy. If it sounds good, it is good. That's one of my favorite things he's ever said. If it sounds good, it is good. Another thing he said once that I liked was if you can use it, then it's useful. And that sounds funny, but let's be honest. Do we think that way? A lot of the times, no. We fall for the whatever the trend is, and he's trying to fight against that here. True bypass is usually the worst bypass. Germanium is not better than silicon. There are no magic op amps or transistors. Circuit design is more important than components. The Doors is not a good band. Creed influenced more guitar players than you have. Vintage typically means broken. A couple of people I follow, I noticed we're getting some vintage gear. Like one guy got a Leslie cab, and it was, he spent weeks fixing it. So that is true. There is no Dumble sound. I agree with that. Goop is funny. I agree with that. All walls sound the same. I don't have an opinion. We buy stuff by aesthetic appeal far more than how it sounds, and that is true and important because for me, picking a guitar I don't typically use up is usually inspiring. If I'm in a writing rut, I might try a Telecaster or maybe my Reverend, or maybe I will try, different sounds, or, you can hear people all the time say, oh, this guitarist got a lot of songs in it. And I think that's true. And I think that's one of the most important lessons too, is if it inspires you, get it. Panera Bread is just higher-end hospital food. Yeah. Although we had it last night, and I disagree there actually now. I think they've revamped some stuff. In-N-Out fries are the worst fries on earth. Have a great day and don't share this. But he's right on all these accounts, and I've long thought that it's not. It's more about, I don't know, it's like a marketing thing maybe, or we just want, maybe our brains just kind of incorrectly say, okay, if you want this, then you have to have this because that person uses that. And I think one of the first things you learn as a musician is the recording process and the signal chains there make it to where the finished product's more about 100 different variables. It's not so much about, did they use the Bad Monkey? Did Ty Tabor of King's X use a little practice amp that's solid state for records that, in my opinion, have some of the best guitar tone I've ever heard? What about Queens of the Stone Age? Did they ever record with a little practice amp that they kind of kept secret for some years? I don't know, right? And that's, I think, another important lesson to all this is go off the beaten path. If Josh can make the Bad Monkey mimic a clone, just by trying, what could we do? You know, maybe take that pedal that only sounds good at a particular setting in your mind and try the other ones again and really listen. Do what he says here. Do what Josh says and learn to listen with your ears. If you feel like your gear is holding you back, look at this post and ask yourself, is it really holding me back? Or maybe I just want new gear. And that's perfectly fine. You can do that too. I do that. But I'm really honest about it. I don't need a fractal. I don't need this Apollo twin interface. The Focusrite worked. I could use just a couple of Neuro DSP plugins. For example, the Petrucci has a detuner. That's pretty good. And, you know, a stereo spread thing, which will make it where I could, you know, have a guitar in E standard, drop it to D, and not have to double track the rhythm parts using the stereo expander, and boom, I'm off to the races. Or I could just do a stereo feed off the fractal, and maybe that's good enough. And it'll do all that stuff too, but I didn't need to buy that. So maybe we should pay more attention to him. Go see the video. I'm going to link it. The clone thing's out of control. These pedals shouldn't be that much money. Buy a clone of it. Buy a kit, whatever. Get a Bad Monkey when they're not $600 or whatever this is. But I think the main thing is really let's all learn to listen with our ears and not trends. Let's take that to heart because I think that's really important. All right. So after this, we'll go back to silliness here in Hollow Notes land. But for now, that's it. Thank you.